when someone talking about non-duality says that you don't exist, you have to understand what they actually mean by saying that. Because what's often misunderstood, and it is an incredible pitfall to fall into, is to experience this dry sense of no self. And the reason I say this dry sense is because there's no happiness there. There might be a provisional peace, a provisional surrender, but there's no actual happiness there. We have to remember this whole path, the only point in any of it is just truth and happiness. There might be a partial truth, but there is not unconditional happiness in that understanding. Because the real understanding is not that we don't exist, we fundamentally do exist. We just don't exist as an individual reality. We're not an individual self. The common beliefs are we are impersonal and there's no I that exists. And this couldn't be further from the truth. We do exist. In fact, there is only existence, and we do have a sense of self. The sense of self that we all feel is the same sense of self. So when we say that something doesn't exist, or that we don't exist, or that the I doesn't exist, or that there is no self, what we're really saying is that there's no individual self. There's no self that is personal to the body and the mind. The same self, that which perceives through every finite mind, is the same infinite consciousness. So we do exist, and in fact I would suggest to actually realize that you exist. Go all the way. Don't limit your existence to being relative and inside the body. See that the fact that you are, right now in this moment, you have a sense that I am. And you know that you are, otherwise you wouldn't be able to contemplate the question. So you're obviously not, you obviously are, you see? You are obviously that which exists and that which is alive in your experience. So this aliveness, when we experience aliveness directly, it is like a moment where we are relieved of the belief that we don't exist. So what can happen is we get some non-dual people on YouTube who talk about the fact that they don't exist. What they really mean is that there's no personal self that exists. There's no individual sense of identity that exists. But this is a very preliminary stage, and the reason I say that is because what we really need to understand is that we're not here to lose individuality, we're here to lose separation. Separation and individuality are two very different things. So we can have a sense of individuality without the belief that we are fundamentally an individual. And in fact, this path is actually a progressive unraveling of greater and greater autonomy as an individual, not the other way around. We're not losing gradually over time more and more individuality. We're recognizing our universality and then going deeper and deeper into individuality, not believing at the same time that we are separate, you see? So I fully experience my individuality, but there's no belief that I am fundamentally the individual, and there's no belief that the world is separate from me. I'm not experiencing a distance between me and experience. In fact, I would say on the ultimate level, there's no experiences. It's like saying there is a wave. When I say there is experience, it's like saying that there is a wave. There is a wave, but the wave never comes outside of the ocean to become its own individual thing, you see? It's never an individual thing. In fact, there's never a wave really there. In the same way, experience is never really taking place, but as the source of reality, I can use my intelligence. By the way, we are infinite intelligence. We're not idiots, you see? We're not an idiotic infinite intelligence. We can appropriate duality. So we can have the experience of samsara, you see? The problem is people are reluctant to talk about samsara because they think that total liberation is completely reduced to samsara. Absolutely not. In fact, the highest level of experience is to transcend experience to the point where we can delve into the Maya, so to speak, or the samsara, without without being lost in it. You see, that's true autonomy. How fragile would our peace be if we had to remove any sense of experience in order to experience peace? That's obviously not the way. So the true liberation is when we recognize nirvana, and then as nirvana, we realize that we go back into experience. So that's nirvikalpa samadhi, just as for the nerds out there who know the Sanskrit terms. We recognize our true nature, and then we go back into samsara. We go back into ignorance, so to speak, and we realize the patterns of separation arise again. And then we think we need to go back to nirvikalpa. We need to go back to this absolute state that we seemed to have been in, that was reduced of the experience of illusion. And actually, that's not the next step. The next step is not to keep trying to get back there. The next step is realizing that the entire experience you're having is actually made of nirvana. It's made of nirvikalpa samadhi. And that recognition, you may have seen me do videos before, I'll add it here when I've got the yin and yang. Basing off this analogy, we've got the yin and yang symbol. Ignorance is when we're in the black. That's not necessarily the black, though. When we're in the black, that's just duality. That just represents duality. Now, because we've never experienced, so to speak, as an individual, or from the point of view of the individual, the nirvikalpa, which is the white, we believe that we are fundamentally reduced to the black, right? We believe that we are inside a separate universe, which is where we experience the black. This is why we then suffer, then we seek liberation. We go to the little white that's in the black. And that white takes us to the big half portion of the white. That's nirvikalpa samadhi. That's the recognition of our true nature. We then go back to samsara, which is the black, which is the world of duality, which is not inherent with separation. It's just the way we perceive the black side is the problem and not the actual experience of it itself. And then we think, I need to go back to the white, and then we suffer the world again, and we think we've lost what we had. So it's ignorance again to think we need to go back to the white. We need to be the entire yin and yang symbol, so to speak, which is our natural state, and that's Sahaja samadhi. You see, it's not to go back to nirvikalpa, it's to experience Sahaja samadhi, which is the recognition that everything in our experience is made of nirvikalpa. It's made of consciousness, it's made of reality. It's made of the reality that we know is inherent in us, inherent as us, and inherent to us. To believe that we don't exist is it's an absolute fundamental misunderstanding and misinterpretation. We do exist. In fact, when we get to that place of recognition, all there is existence, all there is reality. So we do exist, we just don't exist as an individual. So don't be afraid of that. Don't be afraid of non-existence, because the only thing there is existence, and that cannot ever not be. It's like that quote from the Bhagavad Gita: that which is, that which isn't, never comes into existence. That which is and never ceases to be, and that which isn't never comes into existence. This is why I say that the wave never comes into existence. It's only from an intelligent point of view that we see the wave. This is the thing. We think it's ignorance to see the wave. It's not. It's intelligence to see the wave. It's intelligence to say this part of the ocean is the wave. That's an intelligent thing to do. It'd be ignorance to be incomprehensible of that. Likewise, it's not ignorance to say there is a world, in the same way that it's not ignorance to have a conversation. You see, it's actually intelligence that creates experience. That is why there is experience. Even though it never comes out from the wave of consciousness, so to speak, it doesn't mean to say that there's not a realm where we can enjoy that experience, and that is what life is, and that is the celebration. So move further and further into existence, further and further into reality, further and further into celebration. And if you're not feeling happiness, joy, and peace in your experience of your being, then you've mistaken your being. You do exist. I have a free community. The link is in the description. I do meditations every week. I'd love to see you there. Have an amazing day, guys. Take care.